I didn't get into writing to make money or to get famous or any of that. I got in it to hit hearts, and man, when I get letters not just from the soldiers, but from their kids, especially their kids, it makes it all worthwhile. This quote was from an author named Tim O'Brien, who wrote 8 novels and a multitude of short stories. One of his most popular novels, The Things They Carried, contained a section that we actually read in class. The Things They Carried were a series of short stories in Vietnam that are not quite chapters, but not quite connected either. Tim O'Brien sets himself up as a protagonist, and he acts as a soldier storyteller over the course of The Things That They Carried. In doing so, he confuses the reader between reality and fiction. It's a winner of a prestigious award in France, and a finalist for both the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Critics Circle Award. Another of Tim O'Brien's books was called Going After Cacciato, which was an Italian term for caught or hunted. This is a book focusing on a soldier who went AWOL, which means absent without leave, during his tour of Vietnam. This 1978 novel won the National Book Award. He also wrote another one called In the Lake of the Woods in 1994. This is a novel that is really based on an illusion. John Wade, the protagonist, has tried to erase his presence at the My Lai Massacre. The My Lai Massacre was the Vietnam War mass murder of about 350 to 500 unarmed civilians on March 16, 1968, by United States Army soldiers. The massacre was stopped by a helicopter pilot named Hugh Thompson Jr., who intervened on the Vietnamese civilians' behalf. John Wade tries to cover his story to both his wife and during his Senate campaign, and his wife realizes she doesn't know the man she married when she learns the truth. In 1973, If I Die in a Combat Zone, Box Me Up and Ship Me Home, a memoir, was written by Tim O'Brien and published. Even with The Things They Carried acting as a sort of non-fiction retelling of O'Brien's experiences, this is his actual memoir of the Vietnam War. He was a combat infantryman with the American Division in the My Lai area from about 1969 to 1970. It's a very clear and cold retelling of the war, and was one of the earliest books written by a combatant about their experiences. Another novel he wrote was July, July. This tells of a 25th high school reunion for the class of '69, which learns that the past stays with you, and people never really change, even when they get older. Tim O'Brien also wrote Northern Lights. This was Tim O'Brien's first published novel in 1979, and it consisted of 2 brothers who came home from Vietnam. The brothers both return home wounded and have trouble piecing together themselves, their lives, and their relationships, particularly their relationship with their father. Another of Tim O'Brien's works was Nuclear Age, and this is centered about a man digging a hole in his backyard to protect his family. This novel analyzes what life would be like in a constant threat of extinction by nuclear war. It parallels the Cold War, but even Tim O'Brien's most loyal fans don't really like this work as it is a little strange. Finally, Tim O'Brien also wrote Tomcat in Love in 1998. The protagonist's name is Thomas Chippering, who dedicates himself to the pursuit of women, whether it's his ex-wife or anyone of the opposite sex. While a little racy, and the fact that it doesn't follow Tim O'Brien's usual warlike style, many appreciate his creative side in this novel. Tim O'Brien also still writes in the short story medium, and writes many of his chapters and longer novels as short stories that can easily be set apart from the book itself. The Things We Carried that we read in class, that particular section, was a very good example of this. This is uncommon in modern times with the lessening of journals and newspapers to read short stories from, but Tim O'Brien relies heavily on this medium even so. And that was the end of my presentation on Tim O'Brien. Thank you very much.